they do turn around. So men have to be, or the abuser has to be committed to actually changing their behavior and getting help, right? And so when they go in and they're saying like, okay, yes, we will get help, they have a plan, they have sessions that they can go to so that they don't fall through the cracks. So this particular art piece is that the victimizer, they blame the victim and then they have an inflated sense of entitlement. These are two very things that are consistent with most abusers, and an inflated sense of entitlement is you are supposed to be here to do X, Y, and Z for me, and I don't understand now you're not doing what I told you to do. Like, you're here to work for me, and so we need to understand that nobody's here to work for you, we're here to work together. Verbally or physically undermining everything that you want to do. So traditionally, women are, the onus is always put on women, like you're the blame, like you're not a good wife, you're not a good maid, it's your fault, you're not doing certain things, and so we have to really tell people again and again that abuse is a choice that somebody else makes to visit upon somebody else. So whether I'm like not listening to you, or I'm ignoring you, or I'm just pissing you off, that doesn't give you the right to do something to harm me, kind of thing. So that it's not your fault. Whatever you're doing, you don't make somebody hurt you. That somebody else has to take responsibility for their own actions. So that's what we want people to understand. And that being undermined, so women needing systems, and what happens is women, we know that statistically, women of color, they have all these statistics about women of color. What the reality is, there are resources for women of color, and then we talk about like class and poverty and who does this affect. Well, across ethnicity and across class, people are being victimized. So it doesn't matter if you're white or if you're black or Latino. It's happening across class and ethnicity. So women of color, because there's a system where you can go get a social worker or you can go get welfare or whatever, they're taking those notes and they're keeping a record. So a woman who has a private doctor may be getting beat up at home, but she doesn't have to go to the free health clinic, right? She can go to a private doctor and that remains anonymous. So that we need to understand that across the board, women are being undermined despite their ethnicity and their class. So this is the child's profile, and we talk a lot about, and this piece is definitely from the perspective of a child, in that when you're in a house and people are being victimized, that you internalize things, that they have high rates of suicide, they have high rates of high-risk behavior, whether that's alcoholism, that's drug, that's entering into having sex early and not safe sex, all kinds of emotional things that can happen. Now, just because you grew up in a household that was emotionally not healthy doesn't mean that you will automatically perpetuate that same cycle, but it can weigh on you, and people have to negotiate that. So this is a child who's screaming, and nightmares, sleeplessness, and resentment. Like a lot of resentment, displaced anger, just acting out, failing in school, not being able to eat, so all of that, all of those things can happen to a child. So this is the child's room. On this wall right here, Women in Transition has a program called the Clothesline Project. And they've been doing it, I want to say 13 years. And so women who go through the program, they have counseling services. Counseling services are free, low-cost sliding scale. We have information downstairs. Please take it for yourself or other people. These t-shirts were made by survivors. So you can definitely, at the end of the show, like come back up and like look at them in detail. And they're huge. Like this is just a small part because we're in a small space. But that's what this is for. So you can definitely see the artwork. It can be read. This is the she and this is the he. They can be read alone, or you can read them together. And part of it is that there is a female, this child is asking like, who was my mother? Like who was she before she became my mother? And who was this man who was my father? And then together, what are they? So that's why it's written as two pieces and then they merge together as one. So this is called Dismantling Racism. We need to dismantle that though. Dismantling Domestic Violence. So these pink and blue squares represent, male, female, that whole thing. So we're trying to get people to write what they think needs to be eliminated out of society so that this cycle doesn't continue. So people like low self-esteem, power, lack of education, somebody wrote poverty. So we're gonna push some of these up so that you all can have the opportunity to write on them, kind of thing, and just leave your mark in the space. So you can do that, not right now, but definitely at the end of the piece when you come back through and you can leave it if you want to do that. when you go to counseling, what a counselor would try to work with you is on a safety plan. I don't know if you've ever heard of a safety plan. And it's being very proactive, like you are in control of your life, right? Nobody has the right to abuse anybody. And at the same time, we can't just give up our power, right? We can't just sit around and be like, well, I'm being victimized and I don't know what to do. I can't do anything, which is, it's not the truth. So we need to pull ourselves up out of that. And so part of pulling yourself up out of that is having the resources. So we really emphasize a safety plan. And a safety plan is like, look, I'm leaving. And these are the people that I'm going to call. And I'm going to stash money in this place. And I am going to make sure that I have all the records that I need. Birth certificates, ID. If you don't have a cell phone, then you have calling cards. You have extra change. Like you're prepared, so that at that moment when it's time to go, it's time to go, and you're not looking for stuff because birth certificates are hard to get, social security cards, all that. So we want to make sure that you go through, and they methodically go through like this is what you need. So when you get a chance, you can come grab. You can look at the list, and then there's like a chart. Women are particularly vulnerable when they're pregnant or they decide to actually leave the relationship. So what doctors are trying to do is to make sure that they ask women, just all women, if they're being abused when they're pregnant. And then we have little cards there so you can take them. And there's some downstairs also. So in terms of the bathroom for us, so the books there are all strategically placed there. So if you see a book title, those are book titles that, I would highly recommend somebody reading. You can pass them on, the whole nine. That helped, me or somebody else who read it was like, this is a really, really good book. So they're deliberately placed. The bathroom in your home tends to be like a sanctuary. It's the only place that somebody may not follow you in necessarily, right? So unless, your abuser is like really hardcore, they will kick down the door kind of thing. It's not a stable place. But in terms of like being me particularly, like, it's my favorite room in the house. It's a womb space, there's water there, I can sit and think. So it's a sacred place. So sometimes we don't have time to just gather our senses and stuff. So if you can go into the bathroom and just pray, meditate, whatever it is that you do to get back into your center, then that's what we want people to be able to do. So this space is, it's a healing space, and we want people to recognize that you may feel trapped, but sometimes in your own home you can make out little places where you can get some sort of solace. That makes sense? Awesome. So we're here. And this is just, another room. When we talk about, so the idea of like you're going to be abused and you're in a situation, you're trying to figure out where you're going to go. So everybody says, and you can just kind of pile in here, everybody, to go into a bathroom, they can kick in the door in terms of that's not the best place to be. But I really want to talk about separation violence. Separation violence is when the perpetrator is like, oh, you're going to leave me. No, you're not leaving me. And then the violence escalates. So what happens is, again, women who are pregnant are particularly vulnerable. Why do you think women who are pregnant are vulnerable, most vulnerable?
They're trying to protect their baby.
Yes. And the perpetrator is like, they know that you're trying to protect your baby. So the likelihood of you leaving, they think, is slim to none. Because they have already threatened you. So women who leave, they feel like they're going to go, and if the perpetrator knows that they're trying to go, then that escalates the violence because now they feel threatened, like you're trying to question my authority kind of thing. Now, it takes up to 7 times. It takes them up to 7 times to actually leave the relationship, on average, 7 times. And that could be for very many reasons, but particularly it's children is one reason. Because they, hoard children over people guilt people because of the children. You're not supposed to leave me. We're a family. You owe us. You're supposed to be a stronger woman. Whatever. Children. And economics. Women are still to this day dependent on their mates for money, and they may be controlling everything. So it's just very difficult for them to leave. So we just want to make sure, and that can be a tool for people to be manipulated by. So the kitchen. So we talk about bathroom, not necessarily the safest space to be in because they can kick in the door. If you are in a situation, you never, ever, 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 ever want to fight in the kitchen.
Well, not as much as the kitchen.
All day, right?
That's
so
right.
clearly, so that's why we turn this around, right? So this is usually propped open because there are knives. There's a knife on the cutting board. This is a stove. I don't know, when we came in, the tea kettle was on, so this is hot. right? And it's small, it's tight. These are skillets, right? All kind of weaponry, right? So the key is, if you're in a situation, you want to be in a place where you can get an exit. This house in particular is not a great place to get a beat down. I'm just going to tell you that. Like, it's not, because it's like, where are you going to go? Not there, it's too far to run, right? And here, it's so tight, and it's just too much exposure. The best place, God forbid, if you are going to be, like if you're being accosted in this house, is this big room over here. So in people's homes, you kind of want them, you know, stay out of the kitchen, be in the living room. The living room usually has a door coming into the house. Sometimes the kitchen has a door that goes outside, so you always want to exit, be on the main floor, not the third floor kind of thing, and trying to negotiate that. Of course, you're not going to be like, wait a minute. Pause. Let's go downstairs so you can beat me up. It's not going to happen like that, but for safety's sake and for safety reasons. In terms of like raising our children, trying to help them to be healthy, if they see us verbally going at each other, they need to see us verbally healing each other. They need to see us, the other side of, people will get upset, but it doesn't have to escalate to this violence, and then we can resolve this, because if we don't do that, we're raising abusers and we're raising people to be victimized, and we don't need to keep doing that. Like, that's old, and we don't have a lot of time to play, so we need to change that behavior. Does that make sense?
I like the point that you expressed about when the children see you arguing, they should also see you make up. I mean, that hopefully will give them a balance, because two people do, you know, go through changes, but if they see both sides, maybe that'll help give them a balance. And I thought you guys were very, very enlightening. You certainly enlightened me today, and it was a good experience. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. The woman who said that, we were talking about Mrs. Brooks, and she's sweeping the community, like her neighborhood. Who's that?
This one behind me.
No, I mean, that was so good, because it's like, you're there, we see you. Hey baby, how you doing? They may never speak to you. But
they do. They come and sit on my steps in the summer.
See?
And I'm really sad now, because one little girl who was raised on our block, 15 years old, just hung herself. Her sister, who was 13, found her, and her brother, who is 17, cut her down. So that was one who we didn't get to reach, you know. But at her funeral, I told them that I am right at 241, knock on my door, ring my doorbell, you see my car, stop me in the street. Don't let it be 1 second that you have something to say to some adult who's not listening to you, because I'm always going to be here. But that was just like,
I just want to say that the scene with the father and mother and the child in the middle, that was so powerful for me, because, you know, I grew up watching that, trying to work it out, which is really very powerful.